What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Finger Wag Podcast. I'm your host, Gideon Hertz, and happy Finger Wag Fridays. We've got a fun, quick episode for you all as we get ready for the Georgetown Hoyas to take on GW tomorrow, Saturday, in the season opener exhibition game. Very exciting. We'll talk a little bit about that, as well as a practice report. Shout out to the folks at Georgetown who let the finger wag crash practice today and watch as the Hoyas prepared for the exhibition game tomorrow night. We'll have some notes from that I'll dive into. But we are officially into fall here in DC, and we are officially into basketball season. As I mentioned, the finger wag was at practice, little bit of a walkthrough vibe, I think. Didn't go super hard at practice today as would be expected, but happy to report that everybody was a full participant. It looked like no official word on who will play, who won't tomorrow. I would expect everybody to play based off of what we saw today. We might see a starting five or rotation that might be different than what we see in the regular season. I think we'll probably get Julius starting at the 5. Both Vince and Langston Love were full practice participants, but we're running with a second unit as much as you can take from that. We'll see. I expect to see everybody tomorrow, and I expect that they'll rotate a lot. I don't think you're going to get starter quality starter minutes from guys. I think they're going to run through everybody, maybe even more so than they did in Toronto. Other than that, though, I think they are treating this very much as a real regular season game. I think they are aware, though, that GW might be taking this a little bit more seriously. And if you've been following GW's barrage of social media, seems like nobody could possibly be taking this more seriously than GW is. But Coach Cooley emphasized physicality in talking with the team. He wants them to come out and throw the first punch, and I expect that they're going to do that. This team just looked really dialed in, very sharp, even as they were going through walkthrough. Very, very attentive to details throughout practice. It was cool to see, for sure. I don't know how much you can read into it from one practice. In fact, I would not read into it from one practice, but they looked sharp. They looked professional. It looked really great. And I think it was, all in all, a nice practice to see. A lot of defensive emphasis in practice today. It looked like they were drilling a lot on ball screen coverage. Did seem like they had done at least a little bit of scouting of GW. I don't know that they're doing a full game plan, but certainly we're talking through some of the actions that they expect GW to roll out tomorrow, and particularly how they were going to deal with the pick and roll from GW and putting a particular emphasis on the short roll that GW is going to try and get Castro into a lot. I think we'll talk about Castro here in a second, but how they're going to cover that, and a lot of work on the defensive side, just running through different coverages, like icing the ball screen, switching. I think they're going to switch 1 through 4. They're going to switch some lineups 1 through 5. I think I'd expect to see a little bit of potentially trying some things at the 5, including playing small with, maybe a Jaden Fort as the 5 and switch everything. I think they're going to try a lot tomorrow, and I expect them to be very, very dialed in defensively. They looked sharp. As they were running through ball screen coverage defensively, Julius got a lot of work on that end. As I mentioned, he was running with what looked to be the starters for me, and they had him take some extra reps, it looked like, particularly running ball screen coverage out on the perimeter. So trying to really get him comfortable in different types of coverages and in different types of looks. Looked good, didn't make a ton of mistakes. There weren't a ton of mistakes made defensively, frankly. I continue to think that this is just going to be a really, really good defensive team. Julius probably could be louder, and notably, there were a lot of guys chattering, a lot of talk, but Julius was on the quieter side. I think he's a quieter guy, but it all looked good on that end. Also, a lot of just shooting work. I think they've been practicing hard the past couple of weeks, weren't going super hard today, obviously, with the game tomorrow. A lot of shooting work. First look really at Langston Love and his shot, and it is, take it with the big grain of salt that you would with a 2-hour practice in an empty gym, but shot looks good. He looks like he can really shoot. I think it'll continue to be a question how much this team can knock down shots, but there's a real emphasis for sure on driving and kicking to cutters and shots to open shooters in the corners and on the wing. That's a real emphasis, it looks like, just from the drills that they were running today. And I'm looking forward to seeing Langston Love really for the first time in a Georgetown uniform. He looked like he was a full participant. No, he uh, had been a little banged up when we got our practice report from John Rothstein a little while ago, but looks like he's in good shape, and I would expect him to play. I'm not sure if he'll start, not sure what type of rotation we'll see, but I would expect that we will see Langston Love tomorrow. Also, a lot of work on quick transition offense. I think they're going to try and get into sets very quickly and run some transitional sets, which is nice to see. I'm reading into this that I think coaching staff knows that quick offense is going to be important for this team, who might struggle to score and get really great shots in the open court or in the half court, but they are emphasizing rebounding and going. And obviously you've got some really, really good open floor players with KJ Lewis, particularly. Deshaun Harris-Smith looks like he's running the floor really hard. I think you're going to see them try and push the pace and really get out in transition and run some kind of mid-transition sets that I think will be really interesting to see. Like I said, I would expect everybody to play tomorrow. I expect you're going to see a lot of different lineups, a lot of different rotations. I think you're going to see them switch a lot. I think naturally this team is going to switch pretty much 1 through 4 as much as possible. And in a lot of lineups, they're going to switch 1 through 5, and they're going to roll out some small lineups with, Jaden Ford or other guys playing as a small ball 5. I think you might see like Deshaun Harris-Smith potentially, which we heard Coach Cooley talk about in the Canada, how he could see Deshaun playing really 1 through 5. A lot of baseline out of bounds work as well as some end of clock or late game execution, trying to drill some of those plays for late in the half, late in the game. And again, my biggest takeaway was the team just looks very sharp, very locked in. I think there are going to be offensive limitations, but I don't really have a concern that effort, intensity, or their will to win or will to be out there is going to be diminished at all. I think they're really locked in, and it was a sharp practice for sure. So this game tomorrow, we'll just do a quick download for the exhibition game that will be at George Washington tomorrow. For folks in the DMV, I believe there are still tickets available if you want to show up. As many of you have seen, GW is just promoting the hell out of this thing. They are excited about it. I think that's great. I think we should have a regular series with them. That'd be awesome. But we'll start with this exhibition game tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Updated TV for this game, just as a note for folks. It'll be on, I think, locally in the DC and DMV area on Monumental Sports Network. Count me as somebody who doesn't really know what that is. If you can get it, I think you can definitely get it there. I did see it on the ESPN Plus app. So if you have Watch ESPN or ESPN Plus, the game is listed. Whether that means it's going to be played, I would assume so, but you really never know. I did ask to see if Georgetown had any idea about that, and they did not know. This just kind of showed up, I think, on the app. So has not been coordinated by ESPN. Well, I don't think, but potentially on the ESPN Plus app. I would check it out tomorrow if you can. Up on thefingerwag.com right now is our first game preview of this season. We'll be doing these for every game this year, and you can take a look at all of the details that we have up on the website right now. I'll run through some highlights here as GW really enters in what is probably their most hyped season in a very, very long time. They are coming off a strong year. Chris Caputo, the head coach there, his 5th season for the Revolutionaries, finished last year at 128 in Canton, ranked 128, which is the highest that they have finished a season ranked since they won the NIT in 2016. The highest finish for them in a while, and I think they are currently preseason ranked at 81, actually one spot ahead of Georgetown, interestingly. And I think their expectations are really high there. This is really, the biggest expectations have been since their 2014 26 to 2016 run under Mike Lonergan. For folks who know, they return 3 starters from their previous team, and actually not last year, because one of the starters that they returned, Garrett Johnson, redshirted last year with an injury, but started as a freshman. So technically 3 starters, but 2 from last season. And the 2 are junior guard Trey Autry and their key piece, old friend of Ed Cooley, who initially recruited this guy to Providence, played 1 year at Providence under Ed Cooley, 1 year at Providence under Kim English before transferring to GW last year. Rafael Castro, coming off of a big year where he made the All A10 second team, and he's really the hub and focus of their offense. And I think this is a focal point that Georgetown's going to be locked into defensively. He played just 6 minutes a game at Providence under Cooley, upped it to 9 in Kim English's first year that season with Devin Carter and the like, then transferred, and really his game blossomed offensively at GW. Averaged last year 14 points, 9 boards, just under 2 assists per game, just under a block and a half per game, and shot 66% from the floor. So big guy who can absolutely score the ball. I think is going to be a really good test for Georgetown centers. I'm excited to see how Julius shows up, if he is truly going to be the first option on Castro and start tomorrow. I'll be interested to see how Julius responds there, because Castro is, a legit high major big. GW last season was really, they finished the year with the 103rd ranked offense, and a lot of that was because they just could not shoot the 3. They were 304th ranked 3-point shooting team last season. On the other side, they were actually a pretty good 3-point shooting defense, if you believe that defense can impact threes, which some people do, some people don't. I think they went out into the transfer portal and into the recruiting market this year trying to improve their 3-point offense. And I expect to see that tomorrow. Whether they can knock them down, we'll see. But they pick up Trey Dinkins from Duquesne, who shot 38% from 3 last season. And also Garrett Johnson, who redshirted last year, as I mentioned, will be a key part of that. He shot 40% from 3 his freshman season. They're looking for improved 3-point offense. And I think Georgetown's going to need to be locked in on that. They run a lot of just basic pick and roll ball screen stuff. And I think Georgetown is going to ice a lot of those. That is try and get them to reject the screen, and they are going to try and, I think, switch as much as possible and stay out of a lot of rotation. They're also really keyed in that GW likes to get the ball to Castro on the short roll at kind of the free throw line. The bigs are going to have to be really engaged there, but I also think you're going to see a lot of stunting from guards. I'm excited to see how this defense looks. I think the offense is going to be frustrating at times. I think the more that they can get out and run, the better they're going to be. And a lot of that starts with getting stops and rebounds on the defensive end. And if this defense can truly be elite, I think this offense is going to be much, much better. I think those two are really, really connected, and I'm excited to see how Georgetown fares against what should be a pretty decent offensive team. Though we'll see, exhibitions are exhibitions. This would have been a secret scrimmage maybe a year ago or a couple years ago that we would have heard of, maybe just the final score without a lot of detail. Excited that we can actually watch the game, that we can attend the game, that it's being treated like a real game. And I think it's a good game for Georgetown to gauge sort of where they are. I'll be excited. We'll get to see presumably our first look at KJ Lewis and Langston Love, both in Georgetown uniforms. That'll be really big. Excited to see how KJ Lewis looks, coming off of the wrist injury last year. Looks healthy, and I think getting a chance to see what he does offensively is going to be big. We know he's going to be a beast defensively. I think he is going to live up to that. The Finger Wag will be in attendance tomorrow. We'll be covering the game. We will hopefully bring you coverage post-game live from the arena or shortly thereafter with quotes from coach, players, whoever we can talk to there. We'll also be sharing live from the ground how things are looking. So make sure that you're following us on social, thefingerwag.com, our website, all over the place. Check us out on our YouTube at the Department of Hoops channel. Maybe we'll try and get on with the GW Department of Hoops guys at some point to debrief on this game, which I think might be more intense than you would expect for a scrimmage. We'll see. I think GW is going to take it seriously, and I think Georgetown is going to take it seriously as well. But they are rolling out their full roster, really looking at this as a tune-up for this season, which starts in less than a month. And the Finger Wag will have it for you all throughout the year. Excited to get started with our first game coverage for the 25-26 season. Hoyas Saxa.